Okay, the second part that I'm going to model building is the windshield. And a couple things to notice. This line here is not a line. It's actually an arc. We see it has a radius of 6 inches. And I don't like that they did not use the origin on here. I always like to use the origin, then you know when something is fully constrained. The other thing, it tells you to delete some of these dimensions. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than described in here, because if we use the line tool, those tangents will already be created. And you'll notice you get a blockish extrusion, and then put fillets on it. And then here we see snippets of the actual window, which is actually built with a spline. Well, we didn't put the spline. We're building the simplified version, so then we got to go to some of these other directions, and they are not. They kind of quit explaining how to do the offset work plane in the shell tool. So let's go back to the simplified windshield. Okay. Of course, let's go ahead and do a new sketch on the front. And the first thing I want to draw is just a line that's the full length of the windshield. So I'll just go ahead and draw a line and dimension it out to be 3.04. Okay. The second thing I want to do is we have these points here where the arcs are at, and I want to drop the location of those points in before I draw the arcs. That tends to make this go a little bit better. So I'm just eyeballing 2 points, and let's dimension them. The first one is 0.64 up above the bottom, and the second one is up an inch. Okay, and then the distance out to the end, now you got to click the end point there, is 2.55. And the distance from that point to the end is 3.01. Okay. Next, we're going to use the line tool to draw the arcs, and this will get those tangents created for us. So if I click and hold, I can start drawing an arc with the line tool. And then you want to make sure that you drop it on that endpoint, which when you're on the endpoint, notice the endpoint turns green. So again, that is click and hold for the line tool to become an arc. And then that'll make it continuous, and you also see when I start doing that, I get the little tangent symbol that also pops up. So that creates all those tangents. You'll notice because I put those dimensions in now that my windshield is fully constrained. We can tell that because it's blue. It's the darker blue instead of the light blue, and it tells me on the status bar that it's fully constrained. Okay, so that eliminates the need for jumping through some of the hoops they have you jump through if we just create those tangents. So then let's go ahead and extrude that a distance of 2.55. Okay, and next step is we should be able to fillet those edges with a 1/2 inch fillet. Now if you are having difficulty putting a 1/2 inch fillet on those, then you're missing something on your last sketch. And in my class, I say it's okay to just make it a 0.375 fillet and don't worry about it. It'll be close enough. But that gives us, you know, if you do it the way I just built it, you'll be able to put the 1/2 inch fillet on there. Okay? But if not, I'm not going to get too excited about a 3/8 fillet. So next step is to shell. And they don't tell us exactly what the shell thickness is. You have to look into it. right here is 0.07 is the shell thickness. So you have to look at the more advanced drawings to do that. So, whoops, we don't need a sketch to do a shell. Let's just get rid of that. We just need to do the shell tool. Click the bottom face and the shell thickness 0.07. Okay. And next we want to do an offset work plane that is offset 0.67 from where the windshield would rest on the body of the car. So now we could use the work plane tool to create that, but we want to create a sketch so you can actually create the work plane and the sketch at the same time. So now don't just click on the ring, point to where it's red, and I'm going to click and drag towards me, and you'll notice the numbers start popping up on the screen. That's the offset that we're coming down. And if you could drag it to a nice round number, if it was exactly where we want it at 0.67, so that's not a normal standard unit, so I'm going to have to type that in, 0.67. And you'll notice then that that puts my work plane down offset, that 0.67, that puts my sketch and also creates the work plane over here on the browser. Next, we want to make sure we measure in this the measurements for this rectangle here that we're going to be drawing with some fillets on the outside corners. They are measured to the outside edges of the windshield. Well, if we go back and look at our inventor drawing, we don't have those measurements without doing project geometry. So we have to project the geometry of those edges down to that face. There's also a way we could have done them all at once, but I just wanted the outside. Okay? So let's go ahead and now draw and dimension our rectangle. We're just eyeballing this. The one thing that's important, make sure you don't put the rectangle on one of the other geometry points that's already there, created by those fillets. So, and the distance across is what, 0.68. And to the front side, the rectangle is 2.22. And then if we go distance top to bottom, 0.29. And what is that, 2.26. Okay, and then again we want to put fillets on there that are 0.15 on all four corners. So we go ahead and put the fillets on there. And we can't shell again. We have to do an extrusion. So I'm going to select the offset tool. And then let's just come up here and click on that whole circle. That way I don't have to draw and dimension everything again. That'll offset an equal amount around all sides, all edges. And the distance for that offset is 0.05. Okay, so then when we go to extrude, this time we don't want to select a distance. If you do a distance, it's going to go all the way up through the top. So instead of a distance, you want to go to the next surface. So then that will allow that to terminate on the inside surface that we already shelled out. Okay, so that's the basic windshield. There are some little ribs and other things on there, but I'm not going to get excited about that. If you want to add the ribs, knock yourself out. But I'm going to stop there.